Hello and welcome to another tutorial of Affinity Photo. In this particular video, I'm going to show you something slightly more complicated than the previous tutorials. This is more advanced. In this particular video, I'm going to show you how to do dodge and burn. And I know that this process can be a bit more complicated for many of us. I had problem before too, because generally you just use local adjustments such as brightness. If you want to do brightness, you want to just put the brightness up and then brush it off. Well, dodge and burn is a very old process. It's been happening for ages, and in this digital era, things have been exactly the same, only it's digital. Now you have a dodge and burn tool in the toolbox, obviously. You can use those. They are not really bad. They does their job. But if you're a perfectionist and if you want to have more control, highly recommended to do old way, which is very popular in Photoshop. And thanks to Affinity, they provided the same tool and we can use it here as well. And I'm going to explain you this process very slowly in calm manner so that you understand and you can follow without freaking out like I had in past. So let's jump into it. And I'm going to try as easy method as possible so that it's easier for you too. Now, let's jump in. First step, you have a photo. You have to decide what you want to do, where you want to add contrast, where you want to add black, and where you want to add white, so that you can have nice separation between, let's say, the cloud, the sky, the mountains, and the foreground. I mean, you can easily do that by, let's say, if I want to add clarity, and where is it? There you go. That's done. You can bump it up. There you go. That's pretty easy, but there are moments that this process looks really ugly. So you don't want that. The dodge and burn, generally you add an empty pixel layer right there. Now, there are other people like to fill it up with 50% gray and then go for it. For me, I like to keep it simple. What I do, I just keep it as it is, then change it to overlay. You can always add overlay or soft light. They both does more or less the same time. Just a quick explanation. What overlay or soft light does is anything more or less than 50%, you will see a change. Now what change? Anything more than 50%, if it's 51%, such as, I will just actually bring it up the scale here. So you're right in the middle, right there. So if it's more than 50% in the white area, you will be brushing white. If it's less than 50% to the gray, to the dark, you will be brushing dark. So let's jump into the action. So we bring up our brush tool, first of all. And I don't need to even apply the brush. You can actually see it now, the difference. So right now, this is a little bit darker than 50%. In fact, if you want to know how much more or less you are from the 50%, there is another way to verify those. So there's another way to check it, how much more or less you are for 50%. So you go to the color. When you go to the color, you check this box and then go to sliders. That's important. You go to the slider and then you have a list. Generally by default, that should be in RGB or HSL or CMYK, depends on your settings. Be into grayscale right there. What happens is now you literally see 50 right there. So that means if you use any brush, you won't have any effect. But right now, let's go to 51%. You can even see the difference right now. I'm gonna just brush it on and on and on and on. Right there. What I do, I will just turn off the pixel layer on and off, and then you see a slight difference right in the middle. Wait for it. As you see, it's very subtle, which is very good. That's exactly what you want. You don't want it to be visible. You just want to have a subtle contrast between white and black. So this is perfect. So you can do the same way to the opposite, like 49%, just about 2% less than 50%, and check it out. And you can brush it. I know you cannot see it, but it's there. Okay, I didn't turn on the pixel layer, but I'm gonna turn it on now. I'll go back. Now, I'm taking my time here because it's really important for you to understand the process. That's the goal here. So now it's less than 50%, like about 48. And look at the live change. You can see that there is a change, a subtle change in the sky. So I'm going to do it. As I'm going for it, pay attention here as well. In the layer, there is a change as well. So even in the sky, look at the dark side. That's what's happening. And this is very important. Right now, what I want, let's show you with an example. Let's do some changes. So I'm going to go back. What I want is I want to have separation between the dark and the white so that you have a subtle contrast. You see, another reminder, if you're using software as Affinity Photo or Photoshop, prepare to take a lot of time, because that's the whole goal here. You take your time in 1 or 2 photos and do your process. If you want to rush, there are many other softwares available, can do a really good job without any local adjustment, or like Lightroom does a very good job too. So you have those options. Here is more non-destructive, so at least it doesn't damage your photo too much. So now our goal here is that I want to have dark, a little bit more dark in this particular area, each dark area. What I can go to the hardness is completely 0. That's important, so that you have nice flow. It's nice feather. Then you can go to flow 50%. Again, it's already light, but our goal is to make it like you want to feel it, you don't want to see it. Make it dark as much as I can. So I'll do the same thing here too. Make it a bit more small. I'm going to fast forward it. So I did a little bit of change in this photo, and then I'm going to zoom, make it smaller so that you can see. So pay attention. You technically cannot almost see anything, but right now I'm going to turn off and on my layer, and then you will see the changes. Check it out. You see, there is a change. You didn't see it before, but now that I'm changing it, you can even see it visibly. So as you can tell, it's not really strong. It's there, but it's not really harmful for your eye or for anybody. And I got to add contrast wherever I felt like and left everything else alone. I'm going to do the same thing with the white. So I'm going to go about 53%, not very strong, very subtle white, and then do exactly the same. Now pay attention. It's a dodge and burn, and you're doing the layer. So you want to use a separate layer for that. So here I just did, look, dodge and burn is too complicated for me. I'm a simple guy. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write dark. So at least they're dark, pretty simple. I don't need any translation. I think people should change the name from dodge and burn to dark and white. Pretty or dark and brightness, or something that actually makes sense. I mean, dodge and burn makes sense too. Burn is black, but you know, a little bit more translation would be nicer. Anyway, enough with the rant. I'm gonna write down white. So dark and white, pretty easy. I mean, at least you know what's happening here. And also don't forget to change the layer mode. Be careful, because you might lose track and you forget about it, and then you might be freaking out. So every time you make a layer for white, the dodge and burn, or dark and white, you change your layer mode to overlay and soft light. And now we changed our, I'm gonna go that to black, this one to 53, so it's there. Anyway, so it's 53 now. So which means anything over 50% will be slightly whiter than 50%. And again, you don't see it, you'll feel it. So I'm gonna go to the white section of this photo and try to make it stand out a little. I'm gonna go like that. And always zoom in. Extremely important. So now I've done it. I'm gonna make it fit to the screen. So again, do you see any change? You almost don't see it. It's almost like you'd have done nothing. But right now I'm gonna turn on and off. Check it out. Check all the white spots. Before, after. So they're standing out. You didn't see that before. You were seeing it when I'm actually doing the changes. That's the beauty of it. When you do dodge and burn, you're not supposed to make it too extremely visible to your eye. It's supposed to be there, but not too visible. The idea is to have each edges of the dark and white person standing out from each other so that it can have a nice subtle contrast. There are many other ways to add contrast, but this is one of the way, especially if you want your viewers to pay attention to these mountains in the background standing out from this cloud and the foreground. This is when this concept is useful. I have many other way to show you how to fine control your dodge and burn, but right now this is the most basic part. Look at this over and over again and practice. Once you're done, in future tutorial I'm going to show you how to fine control this dodge and burn technique. Just quickly, what I mean by that, essentially, if you really want to have a fine control, let's say if you are trying to brush on this white part, which is the highlight area, but what if you couldn't control your hand and you slipped the dark side and kind of start to look weird? You can actually control that with a luminosity mark so that even if you go over the edge, they won't be there, which is very cool. But I'm not going to show you right now because that would be too much information for many of you. I would like you to start with this current technique first, practice, enjoy your editing, and then when you get back to our future tutorial, I'm going to show you how to fine tune your dodge and burn using luminosity marks. All right. Before I go, finally, you should make them as a group, such as you click them together and then Control J and black and white. Actually, that name is too confusing because you might think it's a black and white. What I do, I'll go dark and bright mountain. So check this out. Now I can turn it off and on. You can see the final end result for it. Off, on, off, on. And you can take your time and then do fine edges, fine brush in each of the edges so that they stand out, and you take your viewers attention to the area that you want them to see. This is a brilliant tool. So future tutorial, exactly the dodge and burn, but with the control of luminosity mask. What I do, I will keep exact same photo so that this tutorial stay related, and I will use the luminosity mask combination with the dodge and burn. Anyway, wish you all the best, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.